Now, threats to external validity. Remember, we said external validity is, can this study be generalized to another populations? One is inference of prior treatment. What if you're using cognitive behavioral therapy, but 10 of your participants have already had cognitive behavioral therapy? So that could be a threat. Artificial experimental settings. You're not in the natural setting. You're bringing them into the lab. That could be a problem. Then you get, just like with the other, you get interactions of all of it, the testing, the treatment, the selection. So there are threats to validity, both externally and internally, and that's why you have a whole section in studies on limitations of this study. Now we're going to talk a few minutes about predictive designs, my favorite form of research. It's a correlation research, but it calculates information about the relationships between variables and the ability to forecast future outcomes. That's why it's my favorite. Let's say you want to know who's going to be a good salesman, because you only want to hire people that are good, that are going to be good salesmen. Some people are good and some are not. So you do this extensive research study to see who of your salesmen that are good, what is it? What about them? And so then you do a multiple regression and you see that there are particular things. Understanding the product turned out to be very important. Interacting with people turned out to be important. So there are variables that you find out through predictive design statistically that would show this is what I'm looking for that person. Teacher, salesman, lots of different predictive designs that you could do. Now with predictive designs, and predictive designs are usually simple regression or multiple regression. The criterion variable is the dependent variables, just call something different. The predictor variables are the independent variables. Only in predictive designs are they called something differently, but they serve the same outcome. All right, let's talk about correlation and prediction. Again, I love prediction, but I also love correlation. And a lot of times when you're talking about correlation, you'll go, oh yeah, I think those would correlate, either highly or not at all. So correlations are based on covariance, or the degree to which the two variables vary together. As I said before, self-esteem and satisfaction with life would probably have a strong positive correlation, I would think. To calculate it, you first have to collect data on every one of your variables. You get numerical data, and then thank goodness for SPSS. You just put the values in, you push a button, and it gives you a correlation chart. And you can see exactly how all your variables are correlated. Correlation analysis of data is known as the correlation coefficient, and it's denoted by R. You'll see that all when you start looking at your studies, you'll begin to see that in your study. Correlation coefficients describe the relationship between two or more variables or sets of scores. Now, with a correlation coefficient, remember that it goes from 0 to 100. The relationship in the correlation coefficient is numerical that you'll get. And it goes anywhere from 0 to 100 plus and 0 to 100 minus. The degree, this is important, The degree or strength of the relationship is determined by the numeric value of the correlation coefficient. So, a value of, when I said 100, I mean 1.00 and a minus 1.00. I always look at it like it's 100. It's a full value. Plus 1.00 and a minus 1.00. So the strength of the relationship is the distance from the poles regardless of plus or minus. So a correlation of minus 0.90 on the minus side, minus 0.90 is stronger than a correlation of plus 8.5. Even though it's plus, so it doesn't matter if it's plus or minus, it's the numerical value of the correlation. Now, there are different types of correlation coefficients. The one that is the most common that's used is Pearson product moment, or Pearson R. And it's for data for all measures that are quantitative. Pearson product moment. Then there's Spearman-Rowe. It's amazing how you have all these types of correlation coefficients because you have different types of data. Spearman-Rowe is between two sets of data, one of which is recorded at the ordinal level. You have a regular value, numerical value, and one of your variables is ordinal. So you have to use the Spearman-Rowe for correlation coefficient. There's actually 4 of these. Then point visceral is used when one or more of the variables are dichotomous or categorical. And then the last one is phi coefficient, and both variables are dichotomous, not just one. With phi coefficient, you're not going to have a lot of studies where both of your variables are dichotomous, where you're using male, female, and religious preferences. So you're using all categorical values. You're not going to do, but you have the ability to find a correlation if you want to. Now, we talked about regression models. Remember I said predictive models are using multiple regression or single regression. We're not going to talk a lot about them because it gets very in-depth, and a lot of those things you just, in this course, you don't particularly need to know. A multiple regression uses all variables that are independently predict the criterion to create a more accurate prediction. Remember, we said the dependent variable was the criterion variable. The independent variables were the predictive variables. Shrinkage is the tendency for you to do a multiple regression over and over. It has a tendency for the predictor significance to become lower and lower. All right, now let's talk about single case research design. I love single case research design because as a practicing counselor, you can do this all on your own. You don't have to have a group to work with. You can work with one single case research design. It's called a lot of different things. You may see this a lot of different ways. N of 1, case studies, time series, single subject design, intensive design. You may see it called that. It's theory-free. It's really not by theory, although there's a lot between behavioral change and intervention, as you'll see, because you're being very behavioral about it. The goals of single case research design are predictive, verification, and replication. Predictive, because you're going to use it to predict, to see if your treatment is working. Verification, to verify change is due to the treatment. And then to make sure that you could use this again. If it worked on one of your clients, why can't you use it again to work on another? There are different models of single case subject design. Simple phase design. We're going to kind of get behavioral here. Simple phase design is an A-B design. And when you think about it, A is the baseline. You always have to have a baseline with single case. A is the baseline, B is a treatment. So simple phase design is going to be A, B, baseline, treatment. Intervention change is going to be A, baseline, B, treatment, A, baseline again. Because if you find your treatment is working, then if you bring them back down off the treatment and go back to baseline, you're going to see, well, hey, it's really working. That's kind of the falsification thing, that if we're not doing it, it's not helping. So that's intervention change. You're going to see a few ethical things going on here. Withdrawal of treatment can be a tough thing to do if it's working. Then you have a follow-up phase, or ABA design, which we just talked about. Then you have withdrawal reversal design. That is A, baseline, B, treatment, A, withdrawal back to baseline, B is treatment again. So you should begin, hey, this treatment really works, because when I use it, they get better. When I take them off, they get worse. When I use it again, they get better. Then there's combined simple phase change design. And this is A, baseline, B, treatment, A, baseline, and then C, which is a new treatment that you want to bring in. So ABAC is just adding an additional treatment. So you see, you have a lot of ways as an individual practitioner you can use this type of research. And then there was multiple baseline designs. All that is looking at two different situations at once. There's a lot of comorbidity in counseling. So you can actually look at this using the same models, using two different problems or mental health situations. So this is one area as we end this session on all these different things we talked about experiments and about predictors and about single case design. Again, these are things that you can use in your own practice, and making sure that you're ethically following this, but it gives you a great way for you to know that your treatments are evidence-based.